The Golden State Valkyries have sent a bolt of electricity through the WNBA. We're going to talk about the Valkyries business on and off the court with Cal head coach Charmin Smith. Locked on Women's Basketball, Valkyries Report starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball's Valkyrie Report, a special edition show on the Golden State Valkyries, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, welcome everybody to Valkyries Report. This is Michelle Smith, senior contributor at The Next and Valkyries beat writer, along with my buddy Matthew Walter. And we are super excited to have you here today. It has been a long time since I have hosted a podcast, but we're going to roll with a longtime friend and the Cal women's basketball head coach, Charmin Smith. Charmin and I go way back. So first, thank you for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen every day. And remember that Locked On Women's Basketball is available free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. All right. So today we are going to talk with Charmin about a few things. We're going to talk about whether the Golden State Valkyries can continue on a playoff run in the second half, how this team has come together on the floor so quickly, and what impact the success of this team is going to have on the Bay Area women's basketball market. So I want to welcome Charmin in. So happy to have you today here. Thank you for joining me. You know this landscape as well as anyone from various angles. As a WNBA player, assistant coach, you played on an expansion team. You know, your experience as the Cal head coach, and obviously you roll deep in women's basketball circles in the Bay Area, having played at Stanford for Tara. So I want to know, what has your first impression been of WNBA women's basketball in the Bay Area so far?
I think it's incredible. And I'm so glad that the Valkyries are having the type of success that they're having, because it just proves that people do care about women's basketball, and we can, you know, fill the stands, and they're doing an amazing job with the sellouts and everything. And this is for a team that's, you know, close to 500, right? This isn't for an undefeated team. So there are a lot of factors that are going into people packing the Chase Center. And I'm really excited about what it means for women's basketball as a whole.
Excellent. So let's talk about this pleasantly surprising first half. You are right. This is not a 500 team yet, but are you surprised at how well the Valkyries have played in the first half of the season, in their first season?
Yeah, 100. I mean, kudos to Ohema and Natalie. Like, they're doing an amazing job. I did not see this happening. 10 wins at the All-Star break is really phenomenal for an expansion team. I think, you know, I was with the Storm the expansion season. I think we had 6 total wins. It's really hard to do when you don't have the opportunity to get, you know, the quote unquote marquee player or the franchise player. But what they've done is create these franchise players in Kayla, Thornton, and, you know, Veronica, Burton. I mean, people are just really stepping up and playing like superstars, and it's great to see.
Can you talk about your experience coming into an expansion team in terms of expectations and putting a team together and standing in front of a bunch of people that you've never played with before and a team that's never taken the floor before, and what that experience was for you?
I mean, it was a lot of fun, and we took a lot of pride in being the first in Seattle. And, you know, Len Dunn was a phenomenal head coach, and, you know, we had some great pieces, but we weren't the piece. And, you know, I just remember the Sparks were really dominant at that time, and, you know, going up against players like Lisa Leslie and the Comets with Cynthia Cooper. And, you know, we just kind of had to take our licks, and then it grew and developed. And then, you know, the Storm, they get Sue Bird, Lauren Jackson, and then you get to championships, you know. So it typically doesn't happen in terms of the playoffs and things like that this fast. And that's what's so impressive about what the Valkyries are doing, and that in season 1, they could be a playoff team. And it looks as though, you know, they're headed in the right direction with that.
So I want to talk to you about the experience as being part of an expansion team a little bit. Is in terms of that bond that players create. This team seems to have come it together really quickly, not, you know, just in terms of the way they appear to support each other on the floor, the way they operate in huddles, the way they talk about wins and losses, that they've pulled together pretty quickly. What do you remember about sort of that bond of being together, all in it together in an expansion situation?
Yeah, I think, you know, one difference is we were kind of early in the tenure of the WNBA. So a lot of us, it was, you know, first experiences playing in the W, and maybe 1 or 2 seasons. And And that camaraderie there is like, I remember looking around like, I hope I'm here tomorrow, that type of thing. It was really different. I know that they've had some players come in and out with the Valkyries, right? Particularly surrounding when people are playing, in Europe and things like that. So you've got players like Leticia has experienced that, and Caitlin Chen. So you just bond on like, hey, I'm a professional basketball player right now, and I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity. I think what's a little bit different with the Valkyries right now is that you have players who have championship pedigree and who have been in the league, like Kayla Thornton. She's not a first or second year kid trying to make it. She's trying to establish herself as one of the best in the league. And then you notice she's an all-star this season for the first time. So people like Monique Billings, they've been in the league, Temi, and they're trying to put their name on something and establish this as like, no, we're vets and we're key contributors on this team, and a big reason why this can be a playoff team.
So they have in the second half of the season, only 9 of the 22 teams they have left have winning records. They got to play against Dallas on Friday, and then they have a 5-game road trip. And we know the road has been a little bit tougher for them than it has been winning games in Chase.
Yeah.
The back half of the schedule includes 3 games against Dallas and Washington, a couple against Chicago and Connecticut. What is the opportunity here for the Valkyries in the second half?
I mean, I think they've just got to continue to do what they're doing, and play with that chip on their shoulder and play team basketball, not relying on, the stars that some of the other teams have. That's what's been so impressive, the way they share the ball, the way they move on offense, the way they're linked and on a string defensively. This is a team that is really in sync, and I think they need more of that. And, I also think it's going to come down to, can the Aces get it going, right? Can they figure things out? They've struggled, right? The Sparks, are they healthy? Like, what does that look like? But it's going to be a battle. It really is, because there are several teams that are right there in the mix, and this is what we want. This is exciting. And I'll add to just the Valkyries in terms of the expansion feel. I mean, what you do for the community is also so important, right? So, with the Storm, we were out in the community so much and engaging with fans and, with the youth and things like that. And I know the Valkyries are doing the same. And the impact that they're having on the Bay Area is special. And if they get to where we have a playoff game at the Chase Center, it's going to be phenomenal.
The atmosphere in Chase for you to be there I've been there quite a bit. You've been there quite a bit. That energy, that sound, like, how does that lift you up?
It's incredible. Like, I am so happy when I go to those games, and I'm truly a fan. I'm not a basketball coach. I'm just sitting there like enjoying the experience, and they've done such a great job. Jess Smith, what they've put together from a marketing perspective, and the promotions, everything, the in-game entertainment, what do they call the Violet Vibes? Like, all of it has just been so cool to see. And you see the little kids and the adults just like vibing and really feeling this team. It was a 1-point loss, and people were standing and applauding, at the end of the game after a loss. It's incredible what they've built. And I'm really excited for the Bay.
It's interesting because, I'm a Bay Area native, and I know you've been here a long time. The honoring of some very Bay Area specific things in terms of the music, get hypey, it's very, there's a lot of placemaking that's happening, which I think is also really great. It's honoring a lot of things that are very Bay Area specific.
Yeah, we used to drive, to Sacramento to get a type of vibe to see the Monarchs, right? Like they had, and now I got to drive across the bridge and feel the Bay, and they're really doing a great job.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to talk with Charmin about the job that Natalie Nakase has done with this team from a coach's perspective. But first, ever wish you were managing money and it felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you are also building wealth. Having all of my accounts and spending in one place would be life-changing. Being able to see all of my accounts and spending in one place is just a way to stay organized. It's a way to move forward in your financial life. And so take control of your finances using Monarch Money. Use Locked On NBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code Locked On NBA for half off your first year. Okay, we are back with Cal head coach Charmin Smith. Charmin, from a coach's perspective, can you talk about the job that Natalie Nakase has done with this team so far?
Yeah, I think it's pretty phenomenal. And I think a lot of it is just instilling the confidence in the players that she has, right? Again, you wouldn't look at the roster and say that there's a ton of star power, but she's got people playing like stars, and she has them playing together and understanding that they don't need that piece. They just need to be confident. They need to be united, and be out there playing together. And it's really impressive to see on both ends of the floor.
It is a, she gave them an identity pretty quickly in my mind, right? Like, what is their identity going to be? Well, Natalie determined that identity, starting with the players referring to themselves as killers and Natalie sort of using that and being such an aggressive and good defensive team and putting that really first. I mean, what do you see in terms of their identity and how quickly players have been able to plug and play into that?
Yeah, I mean, it's when I look at them defensively, it's just the way that they're linked and connected. You talk about playing on a string, being on a string defensively, like they move as a unit, and their rotations, they move on the flight, right? They're there on the catch. They're really active with their hands. They're in passing lanes. They're in gaps. They're making the floor, really difficult for people to get to their spots and have success. And team defense is key. And when you can play as one unit, you can be really impactful defensively.
In the W, we have so many offensive stars and so many people who can score. And this idea that defense can win you a championship, but I'm certainly not putting the Valkyries in like championship contention immediately. But do we underestimate how important a good team defensive scheme is in the W when we look at, when we're focusing on the offensive stars and we're focusing on the players that can score?
Well, I'll tell you this, for the Valkyries in the games that they need to win to make the playoffs, right? Maybe you're not stopping, Stewie and Mieseman if they get it going and the Liberty's hot, but you got to be able to stop Connecticut. You got to be able to stop the Wings. You got to be able to get those wins against the teams that are going to get you to the playoffs. I think that's really important. And so you can have the best defense in the world, and one of the greatest players in the world might be able to knock a shot down, right? But if you've got that best defense against some of the middle level teams, that's where you gain your advantage. And that's where they're, kind of stacking these wins that they got, particularly in June. And they need to keep doing that by staying solid defensively and staying together, playing as a unit on the defensive end. And I like the way that it also generates their pace offensively, like being able to get out and run, and be explosive and, shoot the three ball in transition. All of those things are helpful when you're getting stops on the other end.
They've had 19 transactions so far, which is more than anybody in the league for obvious reasons. Obviously, there was a ton of them attached to the Eurobasket tournament with the international players, but they've had some roster churn and yet have played pretty consistently. What's that attributed to?
Yeah, that's more about it being the system rather than the players, right? Like, I think that would speak to a great coaching job and teaching people, this is how we play. These are our spots. This is our philosophy. This is what we run, so that, okay, if, Monique's not there to do it, then we can slide in a Chloe Bibby for a little bit, or, just have people come in and play their role. And understand that they're a part of this system that is really productive and a fun type of system, right? It's not putting people on train tracks, and limiting them or putting them in a box. It's getting them the freedom to play, but in a structured environment to where people can react to one another and be successful.
It's interesting. What have you just came back from overseas, obviously, the international talent that they've brought in, that eye for players that were going to fit for them, but that maybe are not household names from a WNBA perspective. What do you think of that approach and how it's worked for them? And I would say this, I would liken it to, we watched Bay FC, our NWSL team locally, as an expansion team last year, build heavily international to
Right.
come out of the gate. So do you see, you know, how has this worked for them? And do you see this international flavor hanging around even as we start to have some free agency fun next year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can question it because we've got 10 wins and nobody anticipated that. So I think what they're doing is working. And I think, you know, you even look at other teams, the international presence is really important in, you know, the W at every level of basketball. I mean, we had 7 international players 2 years ago and are fighting to have more now. So they can play up tempo. You know, they space the floor well, they move well without the ball, you know, generally speaking. And so I do think it's something that will continue to be consistent. And you build that in with some of the, you know, star power that other teams will have. But yeah, I don't see this something that's going away.
What do you think Ileana Ruper brings to the party?
Ooh, you know, again, they're just bringing in pieces that can work within their system. So when you talk about versatility, when you talk about size, like all of those things are going to come into play there with Repair. And I'm really excited to see how Natalie pieces everything together.
You know, it's a Tiffany Hayes. I mean, you know, they've got this pool of international talent, but Monique getting these big minutes in her career. You know, I think it was actually Temi Fabengle at one point that said this is a team full of 6th women, but they're getting minutes, they're getting playing time, and they're really showing. I'm really impressed with Monique and the way that Monique is playing. I mean, she's on her 3rd or 4th team in the league, and this is, you know, she's getting time and she's really showing. And Temi Fabengle, a lot of people couldn't believe that Indiana left her unprotected and put her in a position to be on this team. But who do you like right now in terms of the way they're playing in this group of players getting big minutes in the first time in their career?
Yeah, I mean, Burton's been really impressive to me just in like how she takes care of the ball and runs the team, you know, and she kind of came out of nowhere for me. And then Kayla Thornton, I mean, I know she has the experience, she has the tenure in the league, but I mean, to go from where she was just a role player on a really good championship team to being an all-star, I mean, that's a huge leap. That's a huge leap. And, you know, she's put a lot on her shoulders for this team and, you know, stepping out, shooting the 3 ball consistently. That wasn't something that she did extremely well before. And I love her growth and how she's taken on a big role with the team for sure.
How much of how they've built this roster in this first year do you think is going to be replicable for Portland and Toronto and the teams that come after? Is this a model or is this something that Golden State's been able to do because they were first?
You know, I'm going to give credit to Natalie and the staff there because I don't know that this works everywhere. Like the confidence that you have to instill in these players for them to be able to make those types of leaps that they're making. This isn't, I don't know. I'm not sure that it's something everyone can do. I mean, you're essentially in a situation where you're saying one person's trash is another person's treasure and pouring into people and building people up. And honestly, Michelle, it's what we've had to do at Cal, you know, in the portal. And I really love how it's worked out for the Valkyries. But I don't know that it's a recipe for other franchises, you know, because it speaks to Thornton and Burton and who these players are and Monique Billings. And you got to have something in you to do what they're doing, in my opinion. I think you do have to be killers. And, you know, I'm sure there was a lot of thought gone into, you know, the personalities of these players that they were drafting and not just, you know, their stats, because you couldn't rely on stats necessarily. You know, I know that Natalie knows Kate Martin and knows that she can come in and make dagger threes and do those types of things, even though she hasn't had the opportunity. So to search through and find, you know, 10 to 12 more of those for these teams that are going to be coming in with multiple teams at a time, I think it's going to be a little bit harder.
Yeah. I was talking to, again, your former head coach, Lynn Dunn, who said, you know, expansion drafts are not going to get deeper in talent as you add more teams.
Yeah.
They're going to get a little thinner. They just are. The talent will spread out. And so, you know, that this is the opportunity to be first out of the gate may end up being, I mean, it's a combination, right, of a great plan, great execution, and great circumstances for Golden State right now.
Yeah, for sure. I love this for them.
All right. Well, we're going to head into another break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the impact that the Valkyries and their success will have on the Bay Area women's basketball landscape moving forward. All right. We are back with Cal head coach Charmin Smith. Charmin, you know the history of Bay Area women's basketball, obviously, as well as anyone. What kind of impact do you think the Valkyries will have in terms of the interest they've generated and how it'll hopefully spill over into places like your guys and at Cal and Stanford? And what do you hope for that?
Yeah, I think, we've both, Cal and Stanford, been in a situation where we need more people in the stands. We need more butts in the seats. And, speaking for Cal in particular, we're coming off of a season where we're 16-1 at home. And I'm like looking at these 18,000 people at the Chase Center. And I'm like, where are y'all going to get your fix after the playoffs, right? Come see Cal women's basketball. This is another exciting brand of basketball with people who are killers and have a chip on their shoulder and something to prove in the ACC. So I'm hoping that the momentum will carry over and we can get fans across the bridge here to Haas Pavilion. But either way, it's just great for young girls and boys. It's just great for our community to have this professional league here, represented through the Valkyries and doing really well. Of course, the Warriors have had success, and for the Valkyries to step in the way that they have, it's pretty special. And I love this for our Bay Area.
You and I both, when I look around, I don't see necessarily the same people who are coming to Stanford games or to Cal games who are in that arena. So it feels like there is an opportunity to bring new fans into those college arenas, because I think a lot of those folks aren't necessarily folks. There's some overlap, obviously, but there's not necessarily the bulk of those folks, I think, aren't regularly attending some of the collegiate games in the Bay Area. And so I think there's really an opportunity there to grab those folks and bring them in.
I agree. And listen, like women's basketball, it's such low hanging fruit here, right? Like what we need in order to be successful, in order to thrive, it's like right there. And I'm super excited about what this could mean for both teams in the Bay.
How do you all then, and I'm going to say Cal and Stanford specifically, but we've got other programs in the Bay Area. How do you all sort of help to duplicate that atmosphere, that enthusiasm, right? Like that noise that we hear. I mean, it's Chase is a big arena and there's 18,000 people in it every night, but having people bring that, bring that joy, bring that enthusiasm, bring that noise a little bit to your arenas.
Yeah, well, I think from a team perspective, like we've done our jobs and what we've brought in, who we've recruited, Sakima Walker from South Carolina, Miracle Shepherd from LSU, and having Lulu Twidell returning like the leading 3-point shooter in the ACC. Like we've got pieces, we've got dynamic individuals here. We have young women who will engage with fans and that, fans will fall in love with. We need to figure out the promotional aspect. And I've challenged our people, go to the Valkyries game, see what they're doing, feel the vibe. And then how do we replicate it into something that works for us, that's unique to Cal women's basketball? And I say all the time, bring a freaking friend, and I need people to bring their friends to Haas Pavilion and watch these young women, because when you come, you'll see that it's just as much fun. And, we shoot the three like Kate Martin too. We're ready to go. We just got to get people here.
It's coming up fast. It's the end of July already, Charmin. The season's going to be here before you know it. Tell me about your team. I mean, you talked about some of the players you've got, but tell me about how you all build on what you did last year.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really fun year for us, going 25-9 and making it to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2019. And we say, we're made for more. We can really do more than that. And as I mentioned, we brought in some great pieces from the portal. People who are hungry, people who weren't receiving a ton of opportunity where they were at top programs, and they want to show, that they're made for more here with the Bears. And I think Lulu, coming into her junior season, will be one of the best players in the ACC. And I'm excited about how we handled the challenges of the ACC, and this being our second go around now, I think we'll be even better. And we just want to go deeper into the tournament.
I was going to ask you about that second go around into the ACC. Now that you have the lay of the land, literally and figuratively, do you feel like you learned lessons, or they're just things you can apply this second time that you maybe didn't know that first year?
Yeah, I mean, just being more comfortable in environments. I mean, obviously we played at Duke and at Notre Dame, and those were places where I think we were a little shell shocked. The first time in Cameron Indoor, and They'll come to us this year, but, I think we'll be better prepared for going to places like NC State and UNC. It's such a fun league to play in. I mean, the teams I just mentioned, like this is women's basketball. Like, this is what we want to do, and we're competitors. So while we miss the Pac-12, we're excited to be in the ACC, and I do think, we'll be better second time around for sure, but proud of being one game out of fourth place.
All right. Well, Charmin, we're going to wrap it there. I am going to see you with the Valkyries. I see there all the time. I know that you are, as you said, not only there to watch the basketball, but to just be a fan and absorb that atmosphere. And, as somebody who's been in this market a long time and waited 30 years to, have a team in here, it's just exciting. It actually makes me a little emotional from time to time when you just hear that roar, because you know what it means for the Bay Area to have this team, and the Bay Area is telling you what it means. Also, watching just bags of that purple merch, people filling those bags and walking up and down. That violet was a brilliant choice.
It was. They did a great job.
It really was. And I know I've seen you sporting some violet as well. So thank you, Charmin, for being here today. And we will be back to you in college basketball season, which is, again, coming up really fast. So that's our show for today. Thank you for making Locked On the Valkyries your first listen. For your second listen, check out the 2025 Locked On NBA Mock Draft, a 5-episode series with the most comprehensive NBA draft analysis from NBA experts to college experts and NBA draft experts. Find the 2025 Locked On NBA Mock Draft on NBA Big Board and Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It's been fun. Peace out, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks, Charmin.
Thank you.